who are always unpredictable. His wife missed him terribly, of course. So at last, when there had been no word from him in months and months, she decided to go in search of him. And she asked her great-niece, Missy, to stay in the upside-down house and take care of it and the animals. So that's who lives in the upside-down house now. Missy Piggle-Wiggle. On the first truly warm Saturday of spring, Missy sat up in her bed and stretched. "Good morning, Wag," she said to the little brown dog who was dozing at her feet. You might think that the dog who lives in a magical upside-down house built by a pirate could talk, but you would be wrong. The only talking animal in the house is Penelope the parrot. Wag let out a woof and a snort and went back to sleep. Missy looked across the room at the wool hat she wore in cold weather and thought that today was the day she would switch her wool hat for her warm weather straw hat. Then she looked at her cupboard of magical potions that could rid children of unwanted habits, and she wondered who in Little Spring Valley would need curing next. Last spring, there had almost been an epidemic of I never said itis, but she had nipped it in the bud by giving Georgie Pepperpot a single dose of the Promise Potion. Missy had learned everything she knew about magic and potions and cures and children from her great-aunt. Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle was renowned for her ways with children, and before she had gone off in search of her missing husband, the children in town had visited the upside-down house nearly every day to play with the magical little lady who lived there. Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle could make any chore fun. Most children moaned and groaned at home if asked to hose down the porch or tidy up the mudroom, but Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle would cheerfully ask her visitors to "swab the decks, mateys," or "make this place ship-shape," and then she would time them on a stopwatch for good measure. When problems at the homes in Little Spring Valley became acute, and parents were at their wits' end because their offspring had become gum-smackers or know-it-alls or tiny bite takers, they would phone Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle for one of her magical cures, and she would always have the proper potion at hand. Missy, who, as a little girl, had spent happy vacations at the upside-down house, now knew almost as much about magic and cures as her great-aunt did. Missy was reaching for her bathrobe when she heard a knock at her bedroom door. "Come in," she called. The door opened, and in stepped a large pig carrying a tray with good smells wafting from it. "Lester," said Missy, smiling. "Breakfast in bed? What's the occasion?" Lester set the tray on Missy's bed and shrugged his hairy shoulders. He couldn't speak, but he was extremely polite, and Missy sometimes engaged his help when she needed to teach good manners to children who didn't need a magical potion, but who nevertheless chewed with their mouths open, or refused to use their napkins, or grabbed handfuls of cookies without passing the plate around. "Will you join me?" asked Missy. Lester perched on the bed, crossed his hind legs, and poured himself a cup of coffee. He was the sort of pig who liked to drink 4 or 5 cups of coffee with each meal. Missy, Lester, and the sleepy Wag enjoyed breakfast in Missy's room until Missy suddenly clapped her hands, said, "Saturday or not, there's work to be done," and jumped out of bed. There are always plenty of chores to be done on a farm, and behind the upside-down house were a barn and a farmyard. Beyond the farmyard was a pasture, so, as you might imagine, there were animals to be fed and exercised, stalls and hutches to be cleaned, and any number of things to keep Missy busy. The farm was a lot of work. Running it was expensive too, and Missy's wallet was growing light. But so far she hadn't needed to search for the silver key her great-aunt had mentioned. She hadn't sold the precious gold doubloons either. Gold is valuable and would fetch a pretty price, but gold doubloons are the only currency worth anything in the pirate world. And Missy had a feeling in her bones that one day her great-aunt might need them in search for her husband. Missy dared not part with even a single one. Missy, dressed in her straw hat and a flowing pale green dress with wispy bits trailing off of it that sparkled when the light hit them just right, greeted Lightfoot the cat.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.